Hey everybody, if you're watching this video, that means that I'm not in school today, but we're going to be talking about the judicial branch and you're going to have an assignment to do on Classroom. But before you do, I wanted to give you just a little bit of background. So take out your notebook and something to write with. You can pause the video for a minute and I just want you to write down these quick notes on the judicial branch. Okay, so hopefully you paused the video and wrote this down, but basically the judicial branch is the court system in the United States. From the top all the way to the Supreme Court, which is mostly what we're going to be talking about, but also included are all the lower courts that you see across the United States. And basically their job is to interpret the meaning of laws or the Constitution and apply them to individual cases. So what I mean by that is laws aren't written with every single specific scenario in mind. So it's the job of the judicial branch to take a look at specific situations and decide whether or not they actually abide by the law or if they break a law. Or in regards to the Constitution and the Supreme Court, which is mostly what we're going to talk about. The Supreme Court needs to take a look at certain situations within the context of modern society and decide at this point in time, let's say in 2020, does this certain law abide by the Constitution? Or does it violate it, making it unconstitutional? Right? Or the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights was written in 1791, and those are the protections that we have as individuals from our own government. And they're written very broadly. They're very short. They don't take into account every situation or circumstance or law that could be passed in all the time since 1791 all the way through 2020. So the judicial branch of the Supreme Court needs to take a look at certain laws and decide whether or not they actually abide by the Constitution. So the Supreme Court itself, which again is mostly what we're talking about, is made up of 9 judges or justices, the top 9 judges across the country. This is a picture of the current Supreme Court, with one notable exception. Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away recently and has since been replaced by Amy Coney Barrett. This right here is a picture of the 9 justices with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. On a related note, this is a picture of my daughter on her first Halloween at 2 months old, dressed as Ruth Baby Ginsburg. Okay. And the Supreme Court is incredibly important to the United States in helping government function. They're really the last stop for a law because they get to decide whether or not laws that are passed, whether it's a state law or a national law, whether or not they're constitutional. So they can actually override a law. Okay. Now, the Supreme Court chooses their cases very carefully. They don't have to take every single case that comes to them. Usually, they'll choose cases that are really important, like really hot topic issues going on in the United States at the time, or ones that impact a really, really high percentage of the population. So, for example, right now, if you follow the news, you'll probably hear a lot about Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act possibly being considered unconstitutional in the Supreme Court hearing cases related to that. All right. So they're going to take a look at the Affordable Care Act, which was a law passed by Congress. Okay, and they're going to take a look at it and they're going to decide whether or not certain parts of it go beyond the power given to the federal government or given to Congress. Okay. And if they decide that those pieces of the Affordable Care Act are unconstitutional, they can actually strike down the law itself. Okay. For the most part, what we're going to be looking at in regards of the are related to the Supreme Court are whether or not certain state or national laws violate amendments to the Constitution. Okay. So, for example, I have a lot of students in homeroom who decide to sit for the Pledge of Allegiance and not salute the flag. The reason that they're allowed to do that actually stems from a Supreme Court case. In the early 1940s, 1943, there were some students in West Virginia, and they were Jehovah's Witnesses, and we'll talk a little bit about what that means when I'm back in school. But basically, their religion told them that they weren't allowed to salute symbols or pledge allegiance to symbols, including the flag of the United States. West Virginia had a law that said that public school students were mandated to stand and salute the flag during the Pledge of Allegiance. And the students said it violated their First Amendment right to freedom of religion and freedom of speech, saying that the school shouldn't be allowed to force them to say something or pledge something that they don't believe in. And so the Supreme Court, thinking this is going to impact a very high percentage of people in the United States, right? Every student in the United States. So they decided to take that case. They looked at what was going on in West Virginia, right? They decided, okay, we're going to hear this case. And when they ruled in favor of those students in West Virginia, that overruled the West Virginia state law. Okay. Furthermore, it set a precedent or an example to be followed for the rest of the United States. They dictated that schools forcing students to say the Pledge of Allegiance or salute the flag was unconstitutional, that violated the First Amendment rights of students. Therefore, public schools cannot punish students for not saying the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, those are the type of cases that the Supreme Court hears. And we're going to talk about a lot of specific examples throughout the year. And we're actually going to be doing a project next week where each of you get assigned a Supreme Court case related to a specific amendment in the Bill of Rights that you're going to have to do a little presentation on. Okay, so at this point, you should have enough background on the judicial branch to do the assignment that's posted in Classroom. I'm also going to show you a quick diagram that I mentioned that kind of will give you a little bit to work with when you're reading through the iCivics lesson. All right, so as you read through it, you're going to see some of these things pop up. So if you want to keep this up, you can. And this is basically just a diagram of how the court system works in the United States. I'll answer questions about it when I get back on Monday. But for the most part, right, you can see at the lowest level are like local courts, like in Hartford, stuff like that. If you commit a crime or whatever, you'll go to a local court. And then from there, right, you can work your way up. If you think that you didn't get a fair trial for whatever reason, you can try and appeal your decision to a higher court, and they can decide whether or not they want to take it. Now, decisions can get appealed higher and higher, both at the local level and the federal level. Like if a federal law is broken, or if you think something that your state is doing is unconstitutional, right? That'd be a federal district court, and they can get appealed to higher courts too. And the U.S. Supreme Court is the highest court. So for the most part, just keep this up if you need to while you're going through the reading. Do the reading and use the Kami extension to fill everything in and turn it in by the end of class. If you have any questions, you can email me. I'll try and check my email periodically. Or on Monday, we're going to do a quick review of this before we move on. Okay? Have a nice weekend and make sure you're on your best behavior for your sub.